Has your partner ever said to you, "I don't even know who you are anymore"? Hi, I'm Sharon Pope. I am the love and relationship coach for women who are struggling in their disconnected marriages and trying to figure out whether they should stay or go. There's a quote that says, "Women marry men hoping that the man will change. Men marry women hoping the woman will not change. Inevitably, they both end up disappointed." Albert Einstein. My client, who I'll refer to as Rachel, literally worshiped the ground that her husband walked upon. Those are her words. They met in church at the age of 17 and 19. She was this beautiful young woman, and she became a good wife and mother. But she was also dynamic, energetic, and happy, getting energy from being around other people. She was very social. But believe it or not, she didn't have a strong sense of self and didn't trust her own instincts, since those instincts felt rebellious and a little dangerous. Now, she knew even 20 years ago that if she married the man who is now her husband, he would prevent her from getting into too much trouble. He was a good man, a handsome man, a Christian man, and a controlling man. And she was willing to be controlled. So it worked for them. Until that little rebellious and free spirit inside of her began to bubble to the surface again in her late 30s. Now, when she expresses her desires, her husband gets angry and says, "I don't even know who you are anymore." Now, after doing this work with women for years, and experiencing it all myself firsthand, I have some observations about how a woman changes over time. Now, obviously, this is an inexact thing and is different between women, so don't take it literally. But in our 20s to, let's say, mid-30s, we get busy creating the perfect life, completing our education, reaching for a career, finding a long-term relationship, maybe even getting married, creating a home, and starting a family. We have big plans for our lives at that time and enough energy to pursue all of them. Between our mid-30s to mid-40s, we begin to let the quiet whispers of our hearts rise to the surface, getting more in touch with our needs, dreams, desires, and even preferences. We begin to question the expectation of other people that they have of us and our lives, and rail against anything that feels inauthentic. It can be a bit confusing because we have these judgments of good and bad and right and wrong and the things we should do and shouldn't do. And all of our needs and desires seem to fly in the face of everything that we've been taught about being selfless, nurturing, and being the wife and mother that we're expected to be. Between our mid-40s and mid-50s, we are fully shedding the thoughts about what others think of us and wanting to fully embrace all the parts of ourselves. It can look a little rebellious because it's changing the rules of engagement for how you engage with others, which can be really confusing to the people around you. For instance, if you always put everyone else's needs before your own, at this time, you begin to make time, space, love, and energy for your passions. Some might even call you selfish. If you never set healthy boundaries in your life, people begin to notice it, and they don't really like it. They were better able to get their needs met when you had no boundaries. Or if you're like my client and you let people control you and now you're no longer controllable, they can rage against that change. They can shame you with messages like, "I don't even know who you are," in an effort to get you back to go into that small safe box that you were in before you were married. And by our mid-50s, well, if we haven't embraced the changes within ourselves along the way, this is when all hell breaks loose. People around you will say you're having a midlife crisis. I like to call it a midlife awakening. Our souls have woken up and they're not going back to sleep. We step more fully into ourselves and we learn to love the woman that we find there, even if others do not. Now, although Rachel's husband is not my client, I have some good news and some bad news for him. The bad news, this new version of your wife isn't going to become quieter and get back into that nice, tidy, good Christian wife and mother box. It's only going to be expressed in more profound ways, probably more forcefully through time. The good news, and it really is good news, is that he has the possibility to choose to embrace the change that he sees and discover and rediscover each new woman she becomes. Or he can push against reality, but anytime you argue with reality, you're going to suffer. He has the option to get curious about who she is today and not hold on to his expectations of who he wants her to be. Maybe even creating a new and better relationship together that represents more of who each of they are today. He could choose not to suffer, and it is just a choice. There's a quote, and I don't know who said it. I found this cute little meme on Facebook, and it doesn't have an author. It says, "In order to make a relationship last, you really have to flow with a person as they change. Give them space." My friend always told me about his grandfather who was with his wife for 60 years before she passed. His grandfather said that through all that time, his wife changed so much, it felt like she'd been 8 different people by the end. But he said the secret to making it last was that through all those changes, he never suffocated his wife with his own idea of who he expected her to be. Rather, he loved fully every new woman she became. Maybe someone you know needs to hear this right now, and if that's the case, I hope you'll forward this video to them. If this was helpful to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, and if you are ready to take it further for yourself, to really fix the troubles in your marriage or know for sure and never regret a decision if your decision is to leave, I hope you'll reach out to me. There's a link in the notes where you can schedule a complimentary truth and clarity session so that we can explore whether or not there's a fit to work together. Until next time, take good care.